Cam Young at 30-1. I think it's a really nice course for him at the Rocket Mortgage in Detroit, Michigan for him. Wyndham Clark at 36-1. And Alex Noren at 60-1.
My Morency drunken golf pick, which does win like 2-3 times a year, guys. Insanely enough. But I'm going to say Matt Fitzpatrick.
Sports Rage tonight, only on SportsGrid.
I do believe that SJ now is the #1 player in the world. The things that he can do from the point of attack, offensively and defensively, his ability to drive downhill and score at all 3 levels. And the thing I like most about this young man at 26, he's so humble. He's so humble. And that speaks to the whole culture of OKC that Sam Presti and Mark Daigneault has built. Humble team, folks.
Betting above the rim, only on SportsGrid.
No way that I'm betting on the Cleveland Cavaliers for any reason whatsoever.
No.
Ever. Like, when they had LeBron James, it was a different story. I do not believe, I think Spider's great. He's no LeBron. I don't see him carrying them to a title. And I don't believe in the Knicks at all. The Knicks never get it done.
Pharrell Coast to Coast, only on SportsGrid.
Kevin Durant, at the age of 36 years old, after 17 seasons that he has played in the NBA DRS, is now on his way to H-Town.
I don't think it's a great move. I wanted him to go to a ready-made championship team full of a veteran roster and see if he can ring chase that way. Not to go to an organization on the come-up that if you just stay the course, and also, what better blueprint do we have than just staying the course than OKC, right?
The Early Line, only on
You know what time it is. Every Sunday, 10 a.m., the place to be is right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's pro baseball today. It's Donnie right side. It's Tom Vecchio. And away we go over the next 2 hours. Every single game. We have 15 games on the docket today. They will all be covered. There is a game at 11:35 a.m. Eastern. So while we're doing this show, the Baltimore Orioles and the Atlanta Braves will be underway. But the hot topics keep flowing here. Next week is the All-Star game. We're at the midway point already, the Major League Baseball season, Tom. And I say to myself, boy, that seems really quick as we get into post-July 4th, and the dog days of summer are now upon us.
Yeah, we have a lot to get to. I feel like the past week and a half of the league has been crazy. We are seeing a ton of runs scored, which is obviously great. Ton of home runs, especially over this past weekend. But the storylines are starting to pile up. We're approaching the trade deadline at the end of this month. We have the All-Star rosters to get to. We have, again, trades that are coming down the pipeline. We have teams rising, teams falling. The awards market continues to take shape. But also the standings for both divisions and wild card have been all over the place, especially in the past week or so. Let's get to it.
Yeah, let's have some fun. Also, it was the 4th of July this weekend, Tom. Any fireworks in the forecast for you? Did you barbecue? I mean, what do we eat? We always love a good food story, even before getting underway on pro baseball today. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, so Friday I was at my parents hanging out by their pool. Just normal stuff. I had some burgers, dogs, grilled sausage as well. That's always good. My brother's family was there. Really normal. Really just normal grilling, normal stuff there. What about you?
Yeah, no, I had a good weekend so far. And by the way, it feels usually weekends go like, oh man, it was too quick. Like Friday and Saturday went slow, which I love it here. And then you sit here on a Sunday, still another day to get after it, talk Major League Baseball, handicap Major League Baseball, and fit another cookout in. That's the way we get to it. But there are a lot of hot topics, Tom, that the people need to understand and know about here. And if you open the season for the New York Yankees, oh no, Garrett Cole's down. He's got issues with his elbow. Well, how about this? Clark Schmidt likely now to require Tommy John surgery. And I believe it was confirmed that he will now have Tommy John surgery. Another tough blow to the New York Yankees and their starting pitching staff.
Yeah, so obviously this is a huge loss for them overall. And despite the hitting help they need more pitching help. That's really what it comes down to. And obviously, I would always opt for a team to grab an extra pitcher at the trade deadline rather than an extra hitter. I'd rather just have hitters that can be timely in the postseason rather than having, timely pitching, which I don't really think is the thing. I'd rather have frontline starters when it comes down to it. So they have been, I don't want to say sinking ship, but they have looked terrible. not only getting swept by the Blue Jays, but they're about to be swept by the Mets. They have a game coming up later today. We can certainly go through that, but the team's all over the place. Like, and it's getting to the point is like, you go all chips to the middle, but are they better than the Tigers? Are they better than the Dodgers? So there's a lot to fix, and I don't know if it's going to come all this season or in the offseason, but I think drastic moves need to be made.
Yeah, and the Yankees do have deep pockets, but that doesn't change the fact that you can't just pay for another player, right? Like, you're not just going to get an A1 starter because I paid his salary. You're going to have to give up a lot of prospects to get that done. We'll see if they do that, but the Yankees in the midst of a losing streak, now losing a pitcher, and also yesterday, to add insult to injury, Aaron Judge gets hit by Anthony Volpe. What did he do? Punch him, hit him with a bat? No, he hit him with a baseball. Basically floated it over as Judge was running, and you see the picture there. Bloodied up. My goodness, man. What are the Yankees? They can't win games. They're losing guys to surgery. And now also the best player in baseball is getting lumped up by their shortstop.
Yeah, I guess, when it rains, it pours, right? You get swept by your division opponent. You lose first place. You're getting swept by your crosstown rival, which is obviously more of just a narrative storyline thing for the Mets. You're losing players to injury. You're losing players to your own players. When it rains, it pours for the Yankees right now. And, we'll recap or preview some of the trades that they could potentially be making and some of the reports that have been out there. But it is not looking good right now. And a part of me wants to take a bet on them since I am a Yankees fan to miss the playoffs. Yesterday, they were at plus 830 to miss the playoffs. That number's down to plus 620 right now. I might as well have a little piece of that just to get some type of silver lining out of them having a horrible season.
Panic in the streets. How about this? The polar bear, Pete Alonso, was thought maybe in the offseason they don't come to an agreement. Maybe Pete goes to the pinstripes. Well, he stayed there in Flushing, Queens yesterday. Drops 2 more home runs. And how about this? A 290 batting average for the polar bear here as we get underway post July 4th. Big day for the Mets. Big day for Pete.
Yeah, Pete has been off to an awesome start. I want to say what he has done this year has been almost overshadowed a little bit because he was unbelievable, especially in May to start the season. But everyone was talking about for the Mets, they were talking about the pitching staff, which wasn't fully healthy, but they're still pitching amazing. And then they were talking about Juan Soto, who was off to this horrible start, and now he has exploded at the plate. And Pete Alonso's kind of going a little bit overlooked because they're also getting timely hitting from Brandon Nimmo, Jeff McNeil. Obviously, Lindor's amazing, but Pete Alonso, I want to say, has been a rock of the lineup the entire season and deserves a little more time in the limelight, essentially.
How about Shohei Ohtani yesterday? This is interesting. Like, Ohtani usually comes in now as an opener, going 1 to 2 innings, usually leaves and says, you know what, doing a good job here. And then the Dodgers going to lose that baseball game, which they lost yesterday 6-4. But Shohei Ohtani on his birthday out here, pitching once again, trying to build up those innings and build up that stamina so he can be that true starting pitcher and not, Tom, just an opener right now.
Yeah, that's the plan for him. The Dodgers have a lot going on when it comes to their pitching staff. We'll get to some of the storylines with Tyler Glasnow expected back soon. But, Ohtani, yesterday was his birthday. He picks up a couple strikeouts. I think he got to 3 in the 2 innings. He ends up picking up a hit, but they lost the game overall. And I think that the plan for Ohtani has never been to rush him back. Like, he will eventually get to 5-6 innings, and they can use him in a really efficient way, I want to say, when you have him, Yamamoto, Blake Snell, Tyler Glasnow, like that is a formidable frontline starting rotation. But it's about getting him there into October, when they're going to be playing. So I would say do not rush him back. 2 innings, 3 innings. It happens. He'll eventually get to 5 or 6.
Yep, things looking good right now for the Dodgers, at least from a starting perspective here for Ohtani. Also understand this, Max Muncy. Say, hey, he's out 6 weeks. That's terrible. Oh. Well, the counterpart was they thought maybe he would be down for the year and much, much more. So hopefully he does come back sooner than later here. But the rest of Major League Baseball, the quick way to make up a deficit, Tom Vecchio, go on a winning streak. How about the Toronto Blue Jays, 7 in a row? How about the New York Yankees going on a losing streak, losing 6 in a row? Where do you wind up? The Yankees now 3 games out of first place in the AL East. We're going to get to the divisions, Tom, but my goodness, man, what happened this week?
Oh, horrible week for the Yankees. And Donnie, we got to say, I think both of you and I, we have to admit or agree that we were not high on the Blue Jays lineup coming into the season. When we did the season preview, we were like, okay, can the Orioles put it together? We know that they have some injuries, but it's going to be the Yankees. It's going to be, the Rays are always kind of sneaky. The Red Sox, we were interested in terms of their lineup. Could they keep the pitching together? But we were like, listen, the Blue Jays, we're just not on board with the Blue Jays this year. And they are looking great as of late. George Springer is unbelievable right now. And this is a time for the Blue Jays to really make another addition at the deadline. They just got Max Scherzer back. Can they get another pitcher to help out with the pitching staff, which I still think is their biggest issue? They're looking to be in a good spot right now.
And also, Tom, like just the evolution of handicapping, right? Early in the season, like, I don't want to take this Blue Jays lineup. Like, it's really bad. Now, the past couple weeks, like every day, I'm looking at the Blue Jays going like, ooh, team total, RBI chances, guys that were in household names at the beginning of the year, absolutely doing some damage in that lineup, along with the guys we expected, the George Springers, the Vladimir Guerrero Juniors, to sort of put up some statistics as well, which they are doing that here. Take a look at this. We talked about like pitchers going down. Sometimes the best trade that you make is not actually a trade. It's getting a veteran pitcher back at the right time. Yu Darvish getting closer and closer to his Major League Baseball return there for the Padres.
Yeah, I think this is huge. It's not only him, but Joe Musgrove still hasn't pitched this season. And if they can get Yu Darvish back, they also have Michael King, who's still on the IL. And then if they get all three of them back, the Padres, you give me a starting staff of Pivetta, Dylan Cease, Michael King, Yu Darvish, and Joe Musgrove. Granted, Pivetta and Joe Musgrove, not Pivetta, Darvish and Joe Musgrove may not be fully healthy, but you get 3-4 innings out of each of them, plus the frontline starters. That Padres rotation, man, they could be one of the best in baseball.
Look, man, it's all way what you just have to make the playoffs. And if your starting staff falls in line, you have a chance to do some damage. Absolutely. And one of the guys that we thought would do a lot of damage for the Dodgers, but has been injured for quite a bit of time, that's Tyler Glasnow. How about expected to return this Wednesday? That is a shot in the arm for the Dodgers, and they need to just stay healthy, Tom.
Yeah, get Glasnow back, get Blake Snell back down the line, get Ohtani up to 5-6 innings, like we said, add that with Yamamoto, and you have literally one of the best starting rotations in all of baseball.
There you go. By the way, we are going to go over who made the Major League Baseball All-Star starting lineups in the AL and the NL. Also, some updates here on some free agents, some trade deadline thoughts here coming from Bob Nightingale and Underdog. And also, we're going to go division by division to see what happens. Includes still the AL East. My goodness, we'll be back.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this once?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that rim. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right back at it, hour number one in full effect of Pro Baseball today, right here on the SportsGrid Network, Sirius XM Channel 159. Tom Vecchio, Donnie Rightside. We do this every single Sunday, and also next week is the All-Star Game. So let's go ahead, Tom, and take a look at those all-star game starters, starting with the American League here? How about a couple of Detroit Tigers in the outfield with Riley Green and Javi Baez to go along with Aaron Judge? How about the starting shortstop is an athletic? It's Jacob Wilson. Starting second baseman is Gleyber Torres, another Detroit Tiger. Jose Ramirez at third base. Vladimir Guerrero Jr. plays first base here. O'Hearn is the DH. Cal Raleigh, no surprise, is the catcher. And as we wait for the all-star starting pitchers to be named. Looking at that starting lineup, any issues with that? But you know what? I actually like to see a lot of those Tigers on there, Tom. Deservedly so.
Yeah, deservedly so. I would assume we'll probably get Tarek Skubal as the starting pitcher for the AL. That's just how I think it's going to end up. But I think it's a very solid lineup overall. I know some people have some issues with Javi Baez in center over Byron Buxton. We got to remember, this is a fan vote, and there's always going to be some discrepancies of a player performing well, but fans want to vote in another player. And, credit to Javi Baez, who moved to the outfield. The Tigers were dealing with some injuries in spring training. He took over that role, and he's playing well. So I like what I see across the board. Obviously, we knew Cal Raleigh and Judge were going to be the mainstays. And, credit to Jacob Wilson, a rookie who is starting at shortstop for the American League Games, having an unbelievable season at the plate.
Again, and also, take a look at, usually it's Oakland/Sacramento, who's going to vote for them. It tells you how good a season he's had. He's getting voted in from Sacramento fans with 5,000 or 6,000 people a night, it feels like, in that ballpark. Is pretty crazy. But again, shout out Detroit, deservedly so. They're in the All-Star game, but as Tom pointed out, a lot of fan voting here. So there are technically all-star snubs, but in an all-star game, is there really a snub if the fans vote them in? Not necessarily. Let's flip it over to the National League here. The Cubbies in the outfield, Kyle Tucker, and our boy PCA in center field, Ronald Acuna Jr., who is limited at bats so far this season, certainly deserving, it looks like, of being an all-star. The infield, Machado, Lindor, Marte, as well as Freddie Freeman, and then also catching Will Smith, DH Ohtani, starting pitching prospect to be named this week who's going to start there. But the Dodgers, no surprise, they're in there. Love to see Tucker and PCA in the starting lineup, and deservedly so for the Cubbies.
Yeah, everyone wants to talk about Acuna, where limited sample size, he hasn't played as many games as the other players, but this game is taking place in Atlanta. We have to remember that. Again, the fan vote, they're going to vote him in. And granted, in the small sample size that he has, he's been unbelievable, hitting home runs literally from the first pitch that he saw. So I have no issues with it overall. Obviously, we're always going to see a lot of Dodgers in there, but seeing PCA and Kyle Tucker, that's what I like to see. And I'm going to go ahead and say it's going to be Paul Skeens as a starting pitcher, which I don't think should be too much of a surprise, or Zach Wheeler will be the second option.
Yeah, what's interesting? If you get Skeens lined up with Skubal, we love to see that. That's when the All-Star games are fun. And also, Paul Skeens and Tarek Skubal won't be throwing 83 miles an hour like it's an NBA-style All-Star game. I don't want to hurt myself. Let's have fun. They'll bring the heat. They want to get that inning in, and we'll see what happens there. But again, National League and American League starters are up here. We'll find out who those bench guys are. More importantly, who those starting pitchers are sooner than later. Is the All-Star game coming up sooner than later as well. How about that? But also, you take a look at the trade deadline, teams are looking to help themselves. Now, also, Tom, the interesting part about Major League Baseball in the past where a lot of teams would already feel like they're out of it by now. That's not the case now. With the advent of the extra wild card spots, more teams think they're in it to win it, which means making the playoffs much harder to get some of those players to get back here. But if we're looking at an underdog tweet here from Bob Nightingale, you see the Yankees trying to make some moves for obviously the Phillies, the Guardians. Emmanuel Clase on the list where it's one of the better pitchers in baseball, struggled a little bit. Now he's out there. What do you make believe of any of these statistics here, or should I say these tweets coming out that says, you know what? Everybody seems like they're looking for pitching and power bats.
Yeah, that's what it comes down to. I like the fact that so many teams believe that they're in it. We got 6-7 teams in both leagues that are within 5 games of the wild card. So to see the Yankees trying to add specifically a third baseman that's been, it's dating back into the offseason. They were, trying to trade for Nolan Arenado. So that's been a thing for them. Getting pitching is what we always want to see for a lot of teams, but bullpen help is obviously a huge thing for a number of teams. The Phillies closer who was suspended, his name is escaping, but he's not eligible for the postseason. So yeah, so to see the Phillies pick up a closer and or a lot of bullpen help is not going to be a surprise. The one that interests me is Jarren Duran for the Red Sox. Listen, if you're going to trade him and it's going to go to a team like the Padres, which I do think he'd be a good fit for, you have to get a good return because the return that they got for Rafi Devers was terrible. And you have to bring back good pieces to build around because I think Jarren Duran is a really solid player. He would fit very nicely in that Padres lineup, but it has to be a good return for the Boston Red Sox.
Well, they get healthy, too, and you add Durant to that lineup. That's a fun lineup, man, on a day-to-day basis with a lot of superstar talent there. The trade deadline is, Tom, Thursday, July 31st at 6 p.m. So not like we're coming up on it, but we have roughly 3 weeks left to go. But it is interesting where teams are in that holding pattern now. You see the Guardians, and if you want to just talk about ultimate disappointment, were the expectations, Tom, the Guardians to win a World Series this year? No. But that team is woefully underperformed where now they're talking about Carlos Santana's probably going to get traded. Clase, Lane Thomas should also be in there. But a team I want to talk to you about because we're also going to line up these divisions momentarily. The Atlanta Braves as well. They sit 12 and a half games back of the NL East here. The thought process is, hey, we don't want to sell, we don't want to buy. We're in that middle ground, but they're playing terrible baseball. Is this one of those things where they get maybe one more week to decide this? And we talk about blowing it up. Like Strider's not going anywhere. You're not training Schwellenbach, but some of those veterans like Marcell Ozuna, they're certainly sitting out there that may be a pluckable piece.
Yeah, I would say it comes down to what players they're willing to part with, because we know the Braves love to sign players long-term, and like so many of them are locked up until 2030, it seems like. So I would say players outside of that, like Marcell Ozuna, sure, go ahead and move them. Get back any pieces you possibly can, because the Braves need to ask themselves a question like, is this just a bad season? Did we run into bad luck with injuries starting the season with no Cunha, Spencer Strider, and then we just couldn't get the pieces together? Or is this a sign of bad things to come? So if you just think this is a bad season, it's a flash in the pan, go ahead and get rid of those expiring contracts, those veterans, and just bring in the young talent and reset for next year.
Yeah, it's interesting in the way it plays out again, because we are about 3 weeks away from the trade deadline, but it usually feels like the teams understand at this point, the midway point, we're just slightly over that, like, all right, maybe it's best that we can get top dollar. But also, when you're talking about that trade deadline, Tom, you sometimes want to wait until the very last moment to extract as many good prospects as you can. And by the way, we play another 3 weeks in baseball. You'll know who the winners and the losers are certainly going to be in the Major League Baseball season and who's looking to sell at this point. But you just love to hear sort of that hot stove in season of who could be on the move. But it's the usual suspects. The really good teams trying to pluck players from teams that aren't looking to make it into the playoffs. And those teams not looking to make it into the playoffs try to build for the future, which seems like every year it's the Pittsburgh Pirates you're trying to pluck from them. And we'll see if that happens here. But we're going to take a look at the divisions next, right here on Pro Baseball Today. Tom and Donnie on a Sunday, the way it's supposed to be.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
18.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Pro Baseball Today right here on the SportsGrid Network. It's every single Sunday. You love it. It's the midsummer month. Baseball takes center stage, and Tom and myself are ready to give that too. But before we get to the games itself, there's 15 today. We'll cover every single one of those. We'll give out some home run props. Those dogs were barking last weekend. We'll see if they do it again this weekend. But before we get there, Tom, let's go over the landscape of Major League Baseball because a lot has changed, and we talk about it in the opening segment. The AL East, the Yankees were running away with this thing. The Yankees are no longer in first place and 3 games back. Tom, you got the Blue Jays, Yankees, Rays, Red Sox, and Orioles. And if we just leave the Orioles out, they're 11.5 games back. 6.5 games back are the Red Sox to the first place Toronto Blue Jays. But I think we could both agree a 6-game losing streak coincided with a 7-game win streak for the Blue Jays. They stormed back and overtook that division.
They really have, and, I'm seeing at least all the teams right now, those top 3 teams, I should say, they're all sitting at plus money. So, you can take a stance on the Yankees, the Blue Jays, whatever it might be, in order to make the playoffs. We were talking about this just a couple weeks ago. We're like, okay, the Yankees have that division locked up. The Tigers have that division locked up. The Dodgers have that division locked up. The Cubs have their division locked up. We were like, does it really come down to just a few divisions on who we'd see fighting? Now all that has changed for the most part, specifically with the AL East. So I would say you have to have, take a firm stance on the team that you like. If you think the Blue Jays keep the streak going, you think the Yankees right to ship, whatever it might be, you have to have it. And it's the kind of things like you can't waver on it. Now, you can then make a bet on one of those other teams to miss the playoffs, make the playoffs, so you still have a little bit of action going both ways, but find your team and stick with them, really.
How about finding your team there, the Detroit Tigers in the AL Central? A 12.5 game lead over the Minnesota Twins, 14 over the Royals, 14.5 over the Guardians, and 25.5 games over the Chicago White Sox. We thought Detroit would be good this year. Did anybody think they would have a runaway in their division before we even got to the All-Star break? Man, the Tigers are playing good baseball and a fun team to watch.
Tigers are one of my favorite teams to watch in the league. And like you said, great baseball. And we got to remember where they were last year, like that explosive second half, really not just second half, but like August, September that they had to get into the playoffs. They really have carried that over into this season, and they look fantastic. I was not sold on the Twins coming into the year. I like where they're sitting. Honestly, I think there's a bet to make on FanDuel where you think you can bet on or on different books to have them to be the number 1 seed. I think that's the spot to look if you can get fair odds on it.
How about the Houston Astros now upping it? We are starting to get to see some, teams breaking away from the fold. The Houston Astros were like, they're okay. They're so injured. They're not hitting baseballs. Now they're in first place by 7 games in the AL West over the Mariners. 8-2 in the last 10 games, winners of 2 straight games. I like what the Mariners are doing, but a couple weeks ago, it's like, hey, it looks like the Mariners could possibly win this division. They're 7 back, and the Rangers are 10 back. When are they waking up?
Not happening. You and I were both high on the Rangers coming into the season, but the Astros continue to play great baseball. A little bit of a slow start to them for the season for them, but they have really turned things around, and they're doing so not at full health. Their pitching staff, Blanco went down, Arrighetti went down. They still don't have Luis Garcia. He's been out for over a year at this point. So they are doing it with mixing and matching different pieces and getting timely young hitting. Cam Smith is rising up. They moved out Tuve to the outfield. Payne is now hurt, but they're still playing great ball. Christian Walker has been unbelievable as of late after a very slow start. They got the pieces. They just need to get it at a consistent level for the entire season. And, of course, they'll be in the playoffs as usual. The Astros just do their thing.
National League now. We move over to the NL East. The Philadelphia Phillies holding a slight lead of a half game over the New York Mets, who have won 4 games in a row here, pulverizing the New York Yankees. But it's the Atlanta Braves, 12.5 games back. They're not even in third place anymore, Tom. They're in 4th place now because the Marlins are on a winning streak here. 8 of their past 10 games, they have picked up victories in. The Phillies and the Mets, I've always said it, they're going to go back and forth the entire summer. And it looks like the Atlanta Braves just falling farther and farther back here.
Yeah, Braves falling back. Credit to the Marlins to put together this recent stretch that they had. What I said about the Nationals throughout kind of the majority of the season was like, listen, the Nationals may not be great, but they're going to cause a lot of teams trouble. I think that's what the Marlins are shaping into. They're not going to win the division. We all can agree with that. Are they going to make the playoffs? Probably not. But they're going to be a team that causes other teams trouble. The Phillies can't overlook the Marlins. But listen, you would say, if I would say going into the series, Phillies win 2 out of 3 games versus the Marlins, we could kind of write that in. That may not be the case anymore. And the Marlins are going to take away wins from other teams that are in the playoff hunt. And that team offers a lot of value at times.
Yeah, we'll see what they do at the trade deadline as well, with Alcantara on the mound, talking about maybe he gets moved as well. The Cubs in the Central and the Dodgers in the West. 4-game lead for the Cubbies here, and an 8-game lead now for the Los Angeles Dodgers. How about that?
Yeah, I would keep my eye on the Brewers as a team to, potentially make the playoffs. They're going to be a team in there. And then the Giants and the Padres, they got to get things figured out. I do not think the Diamondbacks have the pieces this year. I think we can drop them out of the race. Giants, Padres, teams keep your eye on.
Fourth place now for the Diamondbacks. Tough scene overall for them, 44-45. Corbin Carroll finally came back yesterday, took a collar. Maybe he's back in that lineup today to add some energy that they sorely have missed here. Are you ready to handicap, people? Because we have every single game starting with the Braves coming up next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The two guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching! Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The early line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
Rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Oh, those reeling Atlanta Braves. Guess what their prize is, Tom? Another game today? Sure. But how about the first game of the day? And we're not even waiting till 1:05, 1:15 in the afternoon. We have a morning game today, Tom. 11:35 a.m. first pitch. 9:63, 9:64 on the rotation. It's Baltimore and it's Atlanta. Rogers, the lefty, will be on the mound for the Orioles. And then Holmes will be on the mound, the right-handed pitcher for the Atlanta Braves. This line opened up overnight around a -140 price. It's generally in that vicinity, but we do see as high as -160s out there in the betting landscape. A total, Tom, that opened up at 9.5, but now we're seeing 9s across the board today. What to make out of the Atlanta Braves and what to make out of Holmes on the mound today? Can he be their savior today, Tom?
He might have to be, at least from a pitching perspective. So for the Braves, their lineup is already out. There's no Ronald Acuna and no Marcelo Ozuna today. So it is a little bit of a watered-down lineup for the Braves, which I guess is a good thing if you're looking to back the Orioles. The way I would approach the Braves today is the same way I would maybe approach them in most games. I don't like the -140, -145 price. I think a lot of people can agree with that. The Braves are just not playing good baseball right now. I think they don't get swept at home. It would be what I say at the end when it's all said and done, but I also don't want to lay -140. Holmes has been solid this year. His strikeout rate's up to 28.2%. His walk rate is 11.2%. So he can punch them out, but he's also laying them on base for free. The home runs are a little bit of an issue. Now, we look over the past 30 days at the Orioles lineup versus righties. Jordan Westburg got 429 ISO. Colton Cowser, 349. Gary Sanchez, 333. Mayo's up at 273. Urias is at 250, and Laureano's at 237. So they got some power in the Orioles' bats. So if you simply just want to take the plus money, it is what it is. Trevor Rogers, the veteran on the other side, doesn't really have the strikeouts going. And, man, this is a watered-down Braves lineup. Do we expect Albies and Sean Murphy and Drake Baldwin and Matt Olson and Austin Riley carry the lineup because they haven't been doing it all year, I don't mind the Orioles on the money line today.
Yeah, here's the interesting about Grant Holmes, too. You see a 79 xFIP minus, Tom, over the past 60 days, which is very good. An ERA over the past 2 months here, 3.04. You'll take that. And an xFIP number of 3.20. But here's the interesting part about Grant Holmes. You take a look. He's a strikeout guy. His last 30 days, Tom, 37% strikeout rate. You love to see that. He's dominant against right-handed batters, but lefties, Tom, a little bit leaky. That 37.2% goes down to 19% to lefties here. That walk rate, 17%, so traffic on the bases. ISO against for lefties, 184 in the past 30 days. Weighted on base percentage, 374. The reason I bring that up is Holiday's a lefty, Henderson's a lefty, O'Hearn's a lefty, Cowser and Mullins, that's 5. And then looks like 5 out of the 9 in the lineup today expected to be from the left-hand side. Could make it for interesting parts. But let me ask you this question, Tom. Do you ever give added incentive to this as like a team that's struggling, saying, I'm going against them just because they're bad and the lineup might make sense for me? Or is it you're more in that we're going to bounce back, it's hard to get swept type category?
I mean, I want to say it's hard to get swept. Like I said, I kind of was talking out both sides of my mouth. And when I was saying, I like the Braves, I don't like them to get swept, but I want them at a better price, which is true. Yeah. But I also think there's just objective value on the Orioles for how good their offense has been sitting at plus money. Now, if this was minus 110 on both sides, I would have a different take. I would say, let me just take the Braves time and time again. But if the team's at home, they have a decent enough pitcher on the mound with Grant Holmes, I think they'd bounce back today, but I want an in-game number if all that makes sense.
Yeah, it's a tough one. So for the Braves today, definitely need a victory, but I do think some of those bats make sense. Also, Tom, morning, 85 degrees, which means it's only going to get hotter throughout the afternoon in Atlanta. So that pace could be a launching pad today. But as Tom brought up, a lot of those launching pad guys on the opposite side for the Braves, not in the lineup today. So buyer beware of that. But 11:35 start in 1 hour today. That's going to be up while we're still live on the air for pro baseball today. Game number 2, we'll take a look at Boston and Washington, 965, 966 on the rotation. A 1:35 start. Crochet the lefty on the mound. And a major league debut here for my guy, the lefty for the Nationals, Olga Sawara on the mound today. But look at this, a minus 260 price point for Boston on the road and a total of 8. Hey, usually when you make Major League Baseball debuts, you come over from the Japanese league and say, hey, we have a lot of fanfare. Doesn't look like too much fanfare today for our guy, Olga Sawara.
Yeah, making his MLB debut, the first Japanese-born player in Nats history, if I remember that correctly from the tweet that I saw yesterday. Crochet's been awesome. The line, I would say, is appropriate. Maybe it's just a tad too much. I would say minus 200, I think, would be a bit of a better price. And obviously, it's a big discrepancy between minus 260 and minus 200 for Garrett Crochet. Obviously, a player making his MLB debut against a surprisingly hot Red Sox lineup, is pouring the runs as of late, is certainly a dangerous spot. So I don't mind the Red Sox coming with the win. I don't want to lay the minus 260. The over is far more enticing today, considering what the Red Sox have been doing on offense. So for Crochet, I think he does his thing. He gets the 7-8 strikeouts. Doesn't mean I want to be going over 7.5 strikeouts and laying minus 150 last time that I saw it. When it comes to the hitters, I think you just have to pick your team inside, pick your options with the Red Sox inside with it. I don't want to be going to any of the Nationals hitters going up against Garrett Crochet. To me, this is kind of a stay away game. I think the Red Sox win, but their props aren't something that I want to be going to today. And I think the Reds-Phillies game is a little more interesting. Angels-Blue Jays, far more interesting. So it's kind of just play the over and move on.
88 degrees at first pitch with the wind blowing out to lefty. Love to see that. But also, you have a lefty on the mound for the Nationals, and the Red Sox lineup over the last 30 days that's in today hasn't done all that well. You take a look at Romy Gonzalez, who last week I cashed in on a double for him at a 3-1 price. That was great. Ref Snyder has good numbers. Trevor Story has decent weighted on base percentage, John. But everybody else, Nick Eaton in that lineup, Roman Anthony, you take a look at Jaron Duran, Toro, Wong, and Rafaela, all of those guys underwhelming ISOs and weighted on base percentages here. And also, that is a big number for the Boston Red Sox today. Let's keep it moving down the list and take a look at the Cincinnati Reds and the Philadelphia Phillies. Live from Citizens Bank Ballpark, the Phillies bounced back yesterday with a victory. So this is the rubber match in this series. Take a look at a 135 start, 951, 952 on the rotation. Chase Burns on the mound. A decent first couple innings, and after that, it's been all bad for my guy Burns on the mound. He'll take on the Phillies today. Wheeler opposite on the other side. Another heavy favorite, Tom. Open up around that minus 225 price overnight. Still sitting around that range with a high of minus 246. A total, which opened up at 8.5, still sits 8.5. Great hitting conditions in Philadelphia. A power pitcher in Burns on the mound who has struggled through his 2 starts, going up against one of the best pitchers in baseball, Zach Wheeler, today.
Yeah, Wheeler's having arguably one of his best seasons on the mound. 32.9% strikeout rate for him. And when we look at the Reds lineup over the last 30 days versus righties, Connor Joe, 41% strikeout rate. Stevenson, 35. Will Benson, 27. Hayes, 25. Fraley, 24. Gavin Lux, 21. Spencer Steer, 21. The prop is 8.5 for Wheeler, as it should be for his strikeouts. There is juice on the under, but man, him getting to 7 or 8, going 6 innings, 7 innings, only giving up 1 or 2 earned runs, despite the hitting weather, I think is a real spot. This is why I think this matchup is so interesting, as I was alluding to before. Chase Burns, as you said, was absolutely electric in his first start versus the Yankees, but it was horrible in his next start. Which version of him are we going to see? Because when we look at the Phillies lineup over the last 30 days, strikeouts versus righties, there are 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 hitters that are at 22% or higher. So this could be the pendulum swinging both ways. He either has 6 strikeouts or he has 2 and he gives up 5 earned runs. I would rather side with Wheeler in this matchup, no surprise, and not the Phillies bats. I'm banking on Wheeler coming through, not the Phillies bats.
Yeah, take a look at this, too. I mean, 88 degrees at first pitch, double-digit winds blowing out to right field here. And you're right about it. It's so hard sometimes to take a look at some of these young pitchers, how they're going to perform. Because in the first couple innings against the Yankees, man, I don't know if they can hit them. And they lump them up a little bit. And you see, okay, that bounce-back start on the road at Boston. Like, he didn't even make it out of the first inning before he could come through. Now, the Phillies are that Jekyll and Hyde team. You're right, Tom. They could come right out 5 runs over the first 3 innings, or hey, 5 innings through, Chase Burns has really settled down. But it's not the ballpark to do that. It's crazy. It's like, hey, well, you'd rather be at home. Well, Great American Ballpark is tiny. Same thing with Citizens Bank Park. And you have those hitting conditions today. But I will say this. The Philadelphia Phillies, with their weighted on base percentage against right-handed pitchers over the past 30 days, is sensational. Outside of Stott and Marchand, who's due to probably start today over, the JT Realmuto, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 guys, all plus numbers in this lineup. So it does, Tom, feel like boom or bust for the Philadelphia Phillies. But again, that price point's not a plus 110 you're looking at either.
Right, and that's what it comes down to. So the way I would approach it, let's just take a look at the Phillies. Phillies total runs are 4.5. Honestly, if we are buying into this boom-bust nature potential for Chase Burns, over 5.5 team runs for the Phillies is plus 122. I'd rather just take a shot on that than any one specific player.
And also, stretching out Burns as well. Had that first start here, barely even got a couple pitches in, it felt like, in Boston. So look for him to, even if he gets lumped up a little bit, Tom, they'll probably let him go out there. So maybe a strikeout margin, even if he gets hammered, might be in the fold because he's a strikeout pitcher. More Major League Baseball. We're just getting underway. It's Pro Baseball Today, right here on the grid.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
Just a little flyer, couple of
15.5 point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. That's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Right back here on Pro Baseball Today. Sunday is the place to be on the Sports Grid Network. It's Tom Vecchio at Sonny right side. And we talk baseball, and we love to handicap. We're going to head north in the 6th here for the Angels taking on the Toronto Blue Jays. By the way, Tom, 86 degrees of wind blowing out today. That dome better be open to let in the heat and humidity. 9:57, 9:58 on the rotation. A 1:37 start. Anderson, the lefty, will be on the mound for the Angels, going up against Kevin Gausman, the veteran right-handed pitcher. An opening line overnight around a -175 price. That's now gone up, Tom. We're seeing as high as -200s out there at certain books. A total of 9.5 overnight, still sits at 9.5. Runs are expected, but there is a slippery fish on the Angels, and his name's Tyler Anderson. Can you catch him today? Can you do it?
Tyler Anderson is a pitcher that you and I both we're not fans of, to put it easily. When you look at some of his numbers this year, he's a lefty pitcher, just so everyone is clear, versus lefty hitters this year. He's allowing an ISO over 300. He's allowing a 418 WOBA. He has a 530 xFIP and 2.49 home runs per 9 allowed versus lefties. He's a lefty. He's terrible versus lefties. He's not as bad versus righties. But when I'm looking at a pitcher like Tyler Anderson, and on the season, and this is just on the season, I should say, on his entire career, he's a sub 20% strikeout rate. He has a walk rate that's nearly 10%. So we have free batters on the bases. He's not punching them out on the mound. He's struggling with power. He's giving up home runs. And yet sometimes those runs don't necessarily come through for the opposing team. However, the Blue Jays have been scorching hot as of late. So I will certainly look to them. When we're looking at the Blue Jays over the last 30 days versus lefties, obviously some of their numbers have been specifically better over the past week and a half. But you give me any combination of Bo Bichette, George Springer, who's on Fiverr, Vladdy Guerrero, Addison Barger. I will take these guys time and time again against a pitcher like Tyler Anderson. On the other side, Kevin Gausman, he's been super solid as of late. The strikeouts have been there. The Angels, one of the worst strikeout rates versus righties. I like Gausman to go 6 innings. I like the Blue Jays to come away with the win.
Springer hammering away as of late there. You take a look at Gausman over the past 30 days, 55 batters. He has struggled a little bit with right-handed batters, and also taking a look at that Angels lineup. Neto, Chanuel, you take a look at Trout, Ward, Adele, and also Travis d'Arnaud. All of those guys high-weighted on base percentages against right-handed pitching. As I told you, 86 degrees with a double-digit wind blowing out to really right center field today could make a difference. But if we are looking at that Toronto lineup, and you look at, our favorite guy, Tyler Anderson, his last 60 days, he's got a 114 xFIP minus, which is elevated. He's got an ERA time close to 5, which is elevated, a 4.67 xFIP number. But you're so right about this. You look at the lineup and say, there's not a lot of strikeouts in that Toronto lineup from start to finish based on going up against left-handed pitchers. Against a pitcher that's not really a strikeout guy. But every bat in the lineup today, Tom, for them, expected to be from the right side. It's almost like, they can't get away from, I don't care, righty matchups. It should make sense. You should pound Tyler Anderson. But the fact of the matter is he's susceptible against lefties, but there's no lefties in the lineup. So you have to remove that from the equation. Like on his season, Tom, a 149 ISO and a weighted on base percentage of 288 just with right-handed batters. He's facing all right-handed batters. It's crazy. It's almost like puts your brain, Tom, in a pretzel.
It really does. We always talk about this. So like sometimes the puzzle piece doesn't match up of like the thing that the pitcher struggles with and the team doesn't excel at that thing. But the Blue Jays, I almost want to say for the streak that they've been on, I am willing to discount some of that. I'm not sure that's the right way to put it, but I'm willing to put more stock into the Blue Jays righty lineup, even though Tyler Anderson has been okay to kind of good against righties this season. Give me a hot swinging lineup, get him out of the game, get the bullpen in there, and we'll get the Blue Jays to pile up some runs.
The one thing we're not going to complain about a lot today is some of these weather conditions with the heat in the atmosphere.
Yeah.
We talk about Toronto close to 90 degrees with the roof open. That's a small ballpark, man. Maybe we get some out there. And also with a fly ball pitcher and a guy doesn't strike guys out, maybe we get some of those home runs from Toronto's side here. How about Cleveland? 90-degree temperatures with the wind blowing out in Cleveland today. Fantastic stuff. Detroit's on the mound taking on Cleveland. 959, 960 on the rotation. That's a 141st pitch. But how about this? It's Tarek Skubal on the mound, wasting that good weather. We'll see. Going up against, Williams, a young pitcher looking to find his way in Major League Baseball. 7.5 is the total. Why? Not really because of Williams, because Skubal's on the mound, but a heavy favorite, Tom, of over a -220 price here on the starting pitcher, and Skubal for the Detroit Tigers. Is the price too much? Because when I look, Tom, at Skubal, his last 60 days, a 51 xFIP minus, a 2 ERA, a 2.13 xFIP number. How do you hit this guy? I don't know if Cleveland does today.
Well, is the price right? I'm not Bob Barker, but I think the price is right when it comes to Skubal. But he's having a better year this year than he did last year. He's allowing fewer home runs this year compared to last year. His strikeout rate is at 33.4% compared to last year. Is up at 3%. He's walking fewer hitters at 3.4 compared to 4.6. Skubal is unbelievable this year. And when it comes to the Cleveland lineup, I would say they're not scoring a ton of. They're not scoring any runs. The lineup is awful, and they're not going to get things going versus a pitcher like Skubal. Now, we can say that the price may be a little bit prohibitive to bet on Skubal, and the weather certainly isn't ideal. But if Cleveland comes out of this game with more than 3 runs, I'll be shocked. And that's what the over-under is indicating. We know we're getting from the Tigers lineup. That is already out. Gavin Williams on the other side, a pitcher that I had high hopes coming in, just essentially in his career overall, but his strikeout rate is lower this year compared to last year. His walk rate is higher this year compared to last year. He's giving him more home runs this year compared to last year. So when we're looking at the Tigers lineup overall, you give me any combination of Riley Green, Colt Keith, Spencer Torkelson, Javi Baez, Trey Sweeney. Those are the guys that are going to be doing hitting. Those are the guys I like today. Zach McKinstry, who had my hit parlay, somehow not in the lineup today.
You know what's crazy about this? Like, you look at Tarik Skubal and his numbers are so great. Like, he's the best pitcher on the card today. You look at his last 30 days, 128 batters faced, an 0.92 ISO, a 238 weighted on base percentage, a low walk rate, and a 30% strikeout rate. And then you say, well, okay, it was just a hot 30 days. Like, no. He's faced 414 batters on this season with an 0.84 ISO, which you know what that means, Tom. You're not putting together 3 hits in a single inning, right? And if you're not getting power, how do you actually score on this guy? And then to compound the issue, you're right about this. Typically, like Cleveland's like, hey, they're perfectly fit to face left-handed pitchers because they have so many switch hitters in that lineup. If you just take a look at this lineup over the past 30 days, it's just Carlos Santana with a high ISO and a weighted on base percentage. Everybody else has low ISO and low weighted on base percentages. So I ask you this question, Tom. Like, if you know your angle is going to be Detroit, how do you attack this? Because for me, it just would be so simple and say, I'll just take the run line Detroit, because it'd be a miracle if the Guardians got 3 runs today. Like a miracle. Like, that's how I would play it.
I mean, so Cleveland, their run total is 2.5, and the under is -106. Yeah. The over is 2.5. You know, they won yesterday 1-0, so the run line is a little bit tough. I wouldn't be surprised if Cleveland team total under 2.5. It's honestly a very reasonable way to go.
Yeah, we'll see what happens in that game, but it is hot and heavy heat out there, and it's a shame that they might be able to use that to their advantage. Let's head over to the Subway Series, the Yankees and the Mets. Can the Yanks get a win here? Find out next.
We all know a night out at the club in Vegas can get a little bit pricey, but I've got a tip that can save you a cover fee at some of the hottest nightclubs. All you have to do is sign up online for free with a credible guest list service. Then, just show up before 10:30 and check right in. See you in Las Vegas. Let's get lucky.
The 2 guys that can do it all.
Too much electricity this morning.
This is a good time. We're having a lot of fun.
I had to do a triple take.
Ka-ching!
Why? Because of parity.
I didn't mean to offend.
Yeah, it's not going to happen.
Load management is a dirty word.
Let him rip.
You know what? Circumstances provide the results.
What? How do you do this one?
Oh, Donnie, you've got such a good show there.
A network that is booming.
The Early Line, only on SportsGrid. The game is on. The stakes are high. But the action isn't just on the field.
He's rearranging that roof. Get it inside!
SportsGrid's in-game live. Your ultimate second screen experience.
A little flyer, couple of
15.5-point live line.
Every prop, every play, every day.
Anything can happen. It's complete chaos.
It's smarter to be on SportsGrid.
Subway Series resumes once again today. That'll start at 1:40 p.m. Eastern. That's the New York Yankees and the New York Mets. Max Fried on the mound, the left-handed pitcher for the Yankees. Been very good for them this season. Going up against Davinsky, the right-handed pitcher, which 1 inning, 2 inning, 3 inning. It looks like a bullpen game being set up here for the New York Mets. 967, 968 on the rotation. A 140 start. This line opened up overnight, Tom, at minus 240 price. It's creeped back down. Some outlets now around 190 to 195, and a total that's listed at 9. The Yankees aren't playing well. They have the better pitcher on the mound. It is a heavy price. But is this a giveaway game for the Yankees where the Mets should be able to take care of business fairly easily today, Tom?
I would almost say it's the opposite. Like the Mets are just throwing out anybody in a bullpen game. Like they won the series. They have crushed their crosstown rivals over the past 2 games. They're just going to, whatever happens today happens for the Mets. I see this as there's a no-lose scenario today for the Mets is the way I want to phrase it. Like if they lose this game, Max Fried is awesome. The Yankees were bound to hit, and they had a bullpen game for the Mets. And if the Mets somehow win this game, well, then they just swept their crosstown rivals, and then they are surging up the standings. Meanwhile, the Yankees are falling. When we, of course, look to Max Fried, he's been unbelievable for the Yankees overall in the season. The strikeout rate has been where it is. He doesn't allow hitters on base. He doesn't allow home runs. It is really nice hitting weather out there with winds blowing out to left about 10 to 50 miles per hour. So there is some home run potential. Chris Davinsky is starting for the Mets, and then Brandon Waddle is coming in after him. I don't know if there's any relation to Jalen there, but this is a pitcher that doesn't have a big sample size, and he doesn't have a big sample size dating back over a number of years because he was in the KBO and he has been in the MLB since 2021, 2022. So low strikeout pitchers. If there's any time for the Yankees bats to get going, it's today. But at the same time, what I said about the Braves is I don't want to be backing the Yankees at minus 200 when they can't win a game to save their lives.
Yeah, that's a tough one. Again, it's that whole thing of where you're streaking. I was actually interested to see if Aaron Judge will be in the lineup today, if that eye swelled up anymore, but they can't afford him taking days off when they're on such a large losing streak of 6 games. Max Fried has been really good this year, as we said. The last 30 days, the Mets have not been good at the plate against lefties. Juan Soto, who is a lefty, very good numbers. Outside of that, a little bit of Nimmo here, but you look at Lindor, Marte, Pete Alonso, Vientos, Taylor, Beatty, and also Sanger. None of those guys have done really much against lefties. We'll see if that plays out. But then again, the Yankees, sooner or later, like your pitching staff's going to have to hold up. Like if you score 5-6 runs, you should be winning these games. And Max Fried on the mound, if you score 5 to 6 today, you're probably going to win that game. But as Tom pointed out, right around 90 degrees at first pitch, winds blowing out. We could have some fun today at Citi Field the way it turns out. Let's keep moving down the list as we go. Next game up on the docket is the Brewers taking on the Miami Marlins. That's Woodruff versus Cabrera on the mound. 953, 954. That's a 140 start today. Roughly a pick 'em across the board. A total of 8. Woodruff hasn't pitched in Major League Baseball in quite some time, coming back to the mound. And the Marlins playing really good baseball and have Cabrera on the mound, the right-handed pitcher for them.
Yeah, his first start since September 23rd, 2023, as you see there. This is tough because, he was coming up in his rehab, and then he was set back because I think he got hit by a pitch or whatever it might be. So I think this is a really, really tough spot to potentially handicap the Brewers. When we're looking at the lines, I think the minus 116 and the minus 102 on both sides they're where they should be. So I almost want to remove Brandon Woodruff from this equation, Donnie. If the way I would put it is we have to either focus on the Brewers bats, the Marlins pitcher, or the Marlins bats. Which of those 3 things do we think is going to come through? Because what we get from Woodruff, I think, is a giant question mark at this time. So when we turn to Edward Cabrera, the pitcher for the Marlins on that side, 25% strikeout rate this season, 10% walk rate, a little bit dangerous. If we look to the Brewers over the last 30 days versus righties and their woes, Christian Yelich, former Marlin. We look to Collins, Caleb Durbin, Sal Frelick, and Jackson Chourio. All these players have ISOs not ISOs, WOBAs at 315 or higher. Reese Hoskins left yesterday's game early. I would trust the Brewers bats in this situation. If I'm betting on the Brewers, the minus 116 money line, that's what I need to come through rather than Woodruff, and I think they can get to Edward Cabrera on the mound for the Marlins.
Yeah, I'm going to go Marlins this one. Again, that's why it's a pick 'em. It's a fun game to talk about because you take a look at Edward Cabrera's last 60 days, 87 xFIP minus, a 205 ERA, a 3.52 xFIP number. Not great bats in that lineup there, but not a lot of, non-power bats per se. And also one of the best pitching environments in baseball is down there in South Florida. If we are looking at and say, what are we getting out of Woodruff? Well, if we just go strictly right-handed pitching and what the Marlins have done, they've really woken up at the plate over the past month and playing good baseball. Edwards, Sanchez, Lopez, Ramirez, Stowers, and also Hernandez all have really good weighted on base percentages here against right-handed pitching. And you're right, it's really a factor of I think I'm getting the better pitcher on the Marlins side, and Woodruff is such a wild card. Like, could he go 5 innings, pitch 1 run? Sure, it's Florida, and it's still the Marlins at that point. But I think there's a better chance that you're looking at more of a bullpen game for the Brewers than you would for the Marlins for me, Tom. So that slight edge is going to go for me to the Miami Marlins. Now, granted, 88-degree temperatures and wind blowing out. It is a dome down there, the retractable roof. Boy, would love to see that open as opposed to closed, but that's probably going to be closed today. More baseball in hour number 2 underway next.